Awesome. Hey, everyone. Good evening. How's everyone doing tonight? So, to introduce myself, my name is Brian McCoy. I am the one of the leaders of I guess we're going to call it the Baton Rouge Home and Thibodeau.net user group. With me tonight, I'll have Jeremy Knight and a special guest for you. So, we'll get into that in a minute. So first off, I would like to thank everybody for coming out. We really appreciate the support that we're getting. As usual, we will be exporting our stream to YouTube after this is done. So be sure to check that out or tell your friends. We also would like for you all to utilize the Twitch chat. We will be monitoring that to relay any questions that you have. We also have our Discord channel, so I'll be monitoring Discord for chat. So please, please, please use that if you have any questions, and we will get them relayed to our speaker. As usual, we have the links below to our YouTube channel, our user group Twitters, to our Facebook groups. We have multiple ways to get in touch with us. So, it looks like. Oh, no. Oh, looks like hold on a second, guys. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. All right, came back on. So my webcam dropped out on me. It's been doing that a lot lately. So I may have to look into something new. One thing I want to say is a big thanks to all of our user group people, because the TEALS organization is taking off in Louisiana. Lucia was on with us last month. If you want to check that out, she gave us some information. I also dropped some links in the chat for everybody, but we've had a decent representation from our local user group. So I want to thank you for that. I believe she said that she actually got 2 volunteers during the stream while she was talking about the organization. So as always, we like to see our locals show up. Speaking of that, this is a user group channel. We do all of this for the user group and for the community. So in that token, we've been doing the Sunday streams. So I don't know if any of you have been able to check those out. Every other Sunday, we will stream something in the morning around 9 a.m. It's just something to hang out and produce a little bit of content. This Sunday, we're actually going to have a special guest, Austin Weber. He has written the Louisiana Historical Markers app, and we're going to do a little bit of pair programming, maybe do some pull requests. It is open source, so if you want to check that out, be sure to do so. Again, I'll drop links in the chat so you can check out his GitHub page. Like I said, he is accepting pull requests, and we are going to go over it this weekend. So if you want to check that out, again, the TEALS organization has been kicked off here in Louisiana. So if you want some more information about that, I'll drop some more links here in a minute. But I think without further ado, I'm going to introduce our speaker for tonight. I'm sure he has a slide to tell you about all the awesome things that he's involved in, or maybe not. So some of you may know him from .NET Rocks or the Blazor content he's been putting out on YouTube. But Carl Franklin. So if you want to go ahead, Jeremy, we can, if you're ready, Carl, we can swap over. All right, we could swap over and share his screen.
How are you?
I'm good.
This is actually not, I'm not actually in my studio, but this is a picture of it behind me. And I have the lovely green screen technology that many people have used during the pandemic time. So thanks for allowing me to be here at BRDNUG. Is that how you say it, BRDNUG?
Yeah, we could go with that.
BRDNUG. It's kind of catches, right? All right, so I guess the floor is mine. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm watching your questions on Twitch, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to be talking about gRPC versus WebAPI in the context of a Blazor application. So let me share my screen real quick here, and I'll show you what I've been up to. All right, hang on. Share screen. And it's, I want a window. So I got to find the right window here. Not the whole desktop. Boy, why? Oh, okay, there it is. Yeah, all right. So I haven't used Skype for sharing screens before, so that's why. That's why we're getting this right here. And I'll just wait till I can make sure that this is being shared. Is it? You still see? There it is. Yeah. It's not coming through, is it? I am sharing. I know I'm sharing.
No, I'm seeing something.
Yeah, I don't usually share with Skype, so all I did was I picked the window that I want to share.
Okay, it looks good to me now.
All right. I'm still not seeing it on the stream. Okay. There we go. All right. So this is Blazor Train. This is it's kind of a funny story how this started. It started as a road trip, and you can see there's like a little video here, but it's all YouTube content. When I scroll down, you'll see that there's all these topics, and each one of them points to a different YouTube video that I did, and you can see that we're on episode 46. I'm actually doing episode 47 on Friday. But this is the one that I'm going to go over right now. So this is WebAPI versus gRPC. And I can just minimize this, and guess what? We see some code. So gRPC is an alternative transport to your typical REST services. It started at Google, but it doesn't stand for Google Remote Procedure Calls. It's a recursive acronym that stands for gRPC Remote Procedure Calls. And I think the reason why that is the way it is because Google didn't want it to be like a Google technology. Even though they started it, it's completely open source, and they didn't want to give the impression that they own it, or there's any lock-in, or anything like that. So that's why mute and input. You're getting feedback. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not hearing any feedback. So that is what we have. It's basically a way that you can do remote procedure calls, that you have meaning some classes that are accessible on the client, they're accessible on the server, and you have a service that's on the server, and you can make calls into that service and send data between. And typically the performance benefits are noticeable, mostly because gRPC uses a binary serialization format. It uses a language called Protobuf. So what we're going to do is start by, this is a completely new, except for this person class here, Blazor WebAssembly hosted application in .NET 5. The only thing I've done here is I've added this person class here. So it's very simple. We have an ID, a first name, a last name, a bio, and a photo URL. So just so that we can have some data. Now, I wanted to sort of simulate a lot of data because what I want to do is stress test this. So I basically created a JSON file that has 5,000 records of person with random, lorem ipsum database Latin names for the bio, and the IDs are 1 to 5,000. And I have that out on my desktop, so I'm just going to add that to my server project, just so that we've got that available to us. So remember, this is a JSON file that contains 5,000 person records. Okay. So now what we'll do is create a persons manager on the server. So first we'll make a data folder. And we'll add to that a persons manager. And the manager, when you hear the word manager, if you don't know, that is just a sort of a data access layer. That is just a way that you can query a database or another data source. It's usually like maybe a repository pattern or something, but we don't have an interface. We're not abstracting it. We're just going to create this manager for accessing people. And it's going to be very simple, as you'll see. Persons manager. And I got the code right here. So as you can see, it's just a public list of person called people. And then we pull that in the constructor from the JSON file, and we've got our list of people. So really, this is just giving us access to the people in the person in the people's folder. All right. Now let's create a controller for this. I'm trying to make it simple, so that we're not complicating with a lot of architecture. So this is persons controller. Here we go. Very simple. All we need is a get and a get by ID. That's it. That's all we want. And the purpose of this, remember, is we're going to make a test and we're going to time it. How long does it take to download 5,000 records with WebAPI versus those same records with the same models using grpc? Okay. So let's go to startup in the server, and we're going to add that manager as a service. Of course, we have to qualify the namespace here. There we go. Now to the client, let's create a services folder on the client. And to that, we'll add an API service class. I can type. So the API service just has two methods. The HTTP client gets injected from the one that's configured in program. So that has the base address already in it. So we have a get all, where we're just calling out to persons, the persons controller. That gets everything. We'll serialize that as a list of person, and now we've got it, and we return it as a list of person. Get person ID just returns a single entity, just one person. Pretty simple there, right? Persons / ID, get by ID, and if you remember, that's what we have in our attribute routing right there. We pass the ID and then / get by ID. Okay, so far. Now let's go to program, and we'll add that per API service right there. And now before we can hijack the index page and test this, we need a couple using statements in the _imports file. There they are. And now we can hijack the index page. And it's pretty simple. We're injecting our API service. We have a button. And when we click it, we're calling this API button clicked method. We're setting the API result, which is a string, which is shown right here, to loading while we're loading. I've got a start time. The current time right there is the start time. And then we call on the API service get all to return people right here. And if it's not null, we get the elapsed time by subtracting from the current time, start time, and that is a time span. And then we show an API result, and we have so many records returned in total milliseconds. All right. So again, this is just a way that we can time our API, and we're going to use the same mechanism to time gRPC once we add that. So let's give it a run. Yes, it's 1 o'clock here on the East Coast. All right, test API button, loading, and boom. Okay, you see that? So that's 2.3 seconds, or 2,339 milliseconds. Now that's the first time. If we do it again the second time, it should take less time. All right, but not much. It's still hovering around 2 seconds, right? And the first time you're going to take a hit because everything has to compile and all that stuff. So 5,000 records in about 2 seconds, or 1.9 seconds. Remember that. All right, now let's talk gRPC. What do we have to do? So it turns out with gRPC, you can't use your own models. So person right here, you have to define this using the Protobuf language. It's still going to generate a person class with all of these things behind the scenes. But, and this is sort of one of the downsides of just doing gRPC this way that I'm showing you, is that you're going to have to take your models and either remove them from the project, exclude or delete them or whatever. Now, I'm going to show you how we can use this proto file in the shared folder. And you'll get to see what that looks like. So let's just create one called people. It's not going to do that. We'll add a new item. It's really crazy that I can't just like type an item. But if I say Protobuf, all right, so how about a text file? I like that. Doesn't really matter. People.proto. So this is what people.proto is. Okay. So this is the Protobuf format. And let me break it down for you. So with Proto and gRPC, you have to have a service. You define a service right here. And you define request and response types. Now think of these messages as classes, all right? A message is a class. These numbers right here are ordinals. So the first field, the second field, the third field, or whatever, they have to be numbered because the binary serializer expects them in that particular order. So you couldn't just like put first name in front of, switch first name and last name. You could do that in the order, but as long as the numbers are right, these can be in any order, defined in any order you want. It's the numbers that define what order they are in. So you have to know that. The syntax, Proto 3 means Protobuf version 3, which is the latest. The C# namespace is where the proto file is and where the people class will be generated. All these classes will be generated, or the person class. This I'm not sure what it does actually, but I don't think it's necessary. So here we've redefined our person object, notice that it's camel cased instead of Pascal cased. All right, so that will turn, these will turn into Pascal case when it generates a person.cs class. But, you know, here's the deal. This is not C#, you know. Protobuf exists outside of the world of .NET. It exists for many, many languages. It's a standard all by itself. And so you can't just say int, and you can't say capital int32, which is a C# type. You have to say lowercase int32. All the data types are clearly laid out in the documentation, which is pretty good, actually. But there isn't a date time, right? Google has like a thing that's similar, but it's not a date time. It's like a date offset or something like that. So if you're going to use dates, just make them strings. It's just easier to do strings. You could also use binary, like on a date object, you can turn that into, I think it's a double. You can just get a binary value and it gets a double. That's a really fast way to use dates. But now you have to do the conversion and stuff. All right, so anytime I want an array, there is no such thing as a list of, right? That's a .NET thing, but there are arrays, and so you use the repeated command. So here's a property of people reply, which is an array of person or repeated person. Now, look at this. Here's one with nothing in it. And that's because when you define a service with this service tag right here, here's a people service, and these are the methods on it. Every method has to have a real message type input and a message type output. Get all people request doesn't really have an input, right? When I say get all, I don't pass it a parameter, but you still have to define a blank type or a message to use, even though it has nothing in it. Similarly, get person by ID, you can't just say int right here. You have to wrap it in a type, in a message. All right, so these are just some of the quirks about the proto language or the protobuf system that you have to be aware of. Now, at the end of the talk, I'm going to share a way to make this whole thing a lot easier, but just bear with me for now. This is what you have to do. So now, in order to support gRPC, we have to add a few things to what am I trying to say? We have to add a few packages. So we'll start the client here. To the client, I need to add this one right here, grpc.net.client.web. So grpc.net client, let me get this straight here, uses HTTP2, but since most browsers do not use HTTP2, if we're going to use it in a browser, which is what Blazor is, we have to use HTTP 1.1, and therefore we have to use this version of grpc.net, the web client. Okay, that's the only thing we have to add to that. Now the server, we have to add a couple other things. Whoops, not that. Yeah, here we go. So we have to add grpc ASP.NET Core and ASP.NET Core Web. So this is the server side stuff that you need to handle gRPC. And again, gRPC exists outside of the world of .NET, but these gRPC net and gRPC ASP.NET Core NuGet packages is a .NET implementation of gRPC. And it includes all of the code generation that needs to happen behind the scenes in order for it to work seamlessly. Okay, now let's go back to the shared project. We need an item group here. And in that item group, we'll add these guys. So you need more of them in the shared project where the proto file is. Google Protobuf, grpc.net.client, and grpc tools. Right? Okay, now we need to have a service, not just a controller, but there has to be something in between the persons manager, which now I see has this other weird problem, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's just because, remember, we deleted that person. It'll come back. But we can't just have this persons manager. We actually have to have a service with these endpoints to call into. So we're going to, in the data folder, we're going to add to that a people service. And the reason this is happening, I believe, is because I have to build, because now I have this proto file, I have to build the shared project in order for that generation to happen. And then it will know what a person is and all of that stuff, okay? So there it is, behind the scenes. And I believe now if you look at all files, yeah, see there's, oh, that is my person CS. All right. It's there. It's there hidden for you. All right, go back to people service. All right, never mind that for now. This will work. Because I have to do some stuff in startup as well. All right, so we've got our persons manager that we're injecting in here, and now we have exactly the same service that we had set up in the proto file, right? We have the get all and get person by ID in the people service. And now we need to add the stuff to startup for this to work. So this goes in configure services. We need add grpc. Down here under use routing, we have to use grpc web. And we also have to map the endpoint. So we're going to map the grp service of people service. Now we're going to add to program a really important piece. This guy right here in all of its glory gives us access to a client, a singleton, which gives us the people client. I'm still not generating that the people stuff. Let me see what's going on here. Let me rebuild the shared project and see what happens. Oh, it says it succeeded. Here's my person. Blazor grpc demo shared. That's where we are. Blazor grpc demo shared. All right, something's going on. I'll tell you what I'll do. You know, because I had to scramble at the last minute to rebuild my script, I have a working version of this. But this is essentially everything that we've done. We've done everything now. So let's go to Blazor train grpc demo. This is like, you know, when you go to cooking shows and they make a cake and then they say, and that's it. And then they throw it in the oven and they say, and here it is. And you got one that's already baked. So the next thing that I've done is just added to our, you can see in our program this is where we were. We were adding this people client. And yeah, I don't see any difference there. It's all right. I'm not going to worry about it. But this people client now is injected and allows us to use that in our index page. So we're injecting a people.people client, right? And now I've got two other buttons, grpc button clicked and grpc get random person button clicked. So get button clicked by grpc has the same kind of logic here. We have the people client get all async, where we're passing a new get all people request. And then we're checking the time and seeing how long it took. Now this one to get a random person is just to test the get by ID. And remember the IDs are between 1 and 5,000. So we're just picking a random ID. We get the person by that random ID, and then we show their first name and last name. Okay. Here's looking up your old address. All right, just for reference, let's do the API again. All right, 2.2 seconds the first time, 2 seconds the second time. So it's about in the same area, in the same range as it was before. All right, now grpc. Holy Hannah, half a second. That's the first time. Second time, 349 milliseconds. Yeah, wow is right. Get a random person really fast, just one person. Yeah, holy Hannah is right. So remember I told you at the end, I would show you a faster way to do some of this stuff. So this is a demo right here. Generate your grpc layer, a demo of me showing off this, which is a free GitHub repo called grpc generator. Now there is a code first solution out there, a community solution for grpc, so that you don't have to write a proto file, you don't have to delete your person object or your models. You don't have to, you do have to modify your models, however, you have to add attributes to them. But I wanted a solution that was a sort of a drop-in solution. And so this is a code generator. So we're, and as luck would have it, we're using the same stuff that I just showed you. So we're starting with a person class, and you create you actually create these in C#. Get all people request, people reply, get person ID request. And then you actually create a service and you have an interface for the service. Now this is all C#, right? So you need to decorate it with this grpc service. And here's the implementation of that people service, also decorated with a grpc service. Okay. So here's the generator. So there's a generator library, and then you use a console app to make a call into it. So you typically have your console app and your generator library in the same solution while you're doing the generation. So you need access to that people service. So you'll need a reference to your server project. Here's the models folder. So you're going to need a reference to your shared project. The service name, right? It's going to be people. The proto file name, it's going to be generated, remember? So people proto. The output folder, it's not just going to put files into your project. It puts them all in an output folder so that you can, and it even creates a README file with code that you can copy into. It tells you what to copy where. And so then this is it. Generate grpc wizard, grpc infrastructure, the service type, the models folder, all that stuff. And so here's a typical output for what we have here. here's what it would, the output, the README output. In the shared project, you add this following code and you literally copy and paste that into your shared project. That's what I was missing. This right here, you have to include this Protobuf, people proto. That has to be there. That's the reason why it wasn't compiling, because it didn't know where what that people proto file was. Then it tells you to add the people proto file generated to the shared project. Now you have these converters. Get all people request converter, people reply converter generates these, because here's the thing. Remember those messages? Well, it creates, well, I'll show you, but it basically prepends every one of those message types with, grpc underscore, so they don't clash with your types. So you can continue to use your person class, your models unchanged, and then it will just do this automatic conversion for you, between its types, which has the same properties, and your types. And then here's what you add to the server project, and then it creates a grpc people service. You add that to your server project, tells you what to do, tells you what to add, blah blah blah. So here's the proto file that it creates, and you can see that everything is prepended with grpc underscore. So it is, again, it isn't getting in your way. And then here's the grpc service, right? Here's the grpc service, not your service. So this is going to make calls into your service, right? Here's your people service. That's your C# service. And it's going to do the conversion on the way in and on the way out. And it does this automatically. And then here's your client for calling in your Blazor application. So the long and short of it is, you run this, you copy your files in, and then you just use this method to use your own people classes, your own models, your own lists, and all that stuff, and you just go through this service, and everything is hunky dory. And this is just what the converters look like. Nothing, it's just plumbing. It generates plumbing. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of my conversation, of my show. I hope you go to that grpc generator and use it and watch Blazor train and all of those things. And that's it. Here I am.
Sorry, trying to get off of mute. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's see. I'm trying to get we'll link your Blazor train stuff in the chat for you.
Mm-hmm.
So we really appreciate you coming on and talking grpc with us.
Sure, I'd be glad to take any questions if you have them.
So any questions out there? Well, people, here's your chance. I think the sheer impressiveness of pulling back the 5,000 records, because I know one thing I don't typically get thrilled about is whenever somebody wants to do a bulk process in an enterprise environment through WebAPI. So
right, yeah, it was simply a stress test, Yeah. But if it works that fast with 5,000 records, imagine what it'll do with 10 or 20.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. We're getting a lot of thanks in the chat. So
you're welcome.
I guess
welcome,
people
Chad.
are
Welcome, Yolzar.
Yeah. Awesome. I guess people are being shy this evening. But I mean, thank you so much for coming out and demoing it. I know this is something that we're looking at where I work. Definitely using it in Blazor is something that I didn't even consider until you sent me the message about using it in Blazor. So that is
right.
That is fantastic. So if nothing else, my takeaway is going to be set up a Blazor app with grpc and see what happens.
Right. Justin says, we saw speed. What kind of network payload savings would you project? The speed that you're getting is because the network payload is lower. So that's just, where I even turned on compression in an API, my API server, just to see the response compression, to see if there was any kind of comparable speed savings, and there really wasn't. So gRPC is just hands down faster, and in part because it's going that extra step of creating a binary format. The Protobuf protocol is just really, really fast.
Nice. So we'll give it a second in case there's a delay. See if we have anything else. I don't see anything. Let me check Discord real quick. So no, it looks like that may be it.
Very cool. Very cool.
Again, thank you so much for coming out and sharing this with us. I really appreciate it. Thanks again to everybody in chat who showed up for the stream. We appreciate having y'all too, because without y'all, we wouldn't have a show. So I guess until next time, thanks to everybody who help out. Jeremy and Andy for all y'all do with the user groups. And we'll see you back here next Monday, second Wednesday.
Thanks.
Thanks.